The Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord make his face shine upon us and be gracious unto us. The Lord lift us in the light of his upon us and give us peace now and always. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated.
Administration of oaths or affirmations.
None.
Reading by the Honourable Speaker of messages and announcements.
Honourable members, I have two very short messages or announcements this morning. The first is what I consider should be accepted as good news. The Standing Orders Working Group is nearing the end of its consideration and drafting of new standing orders. We are at Standing Order 82 of 91. And I am very hopeful that by the time this House next meets, and I'm assuming that's going to be September, we should be in a position where the House can decide what the new standing orders will look like. The second is this. I wish to express my concern again about the fact that this House, this Parliament, has not yet agreed a code of conduct which all members may subscribe to or would be required to be subscribed to. I understand from a brief discussion with the Leader of the Opposition and with the Premier that we are close to agreeing a set of, or a code which all members will be prepared to subscribe to. I really believe it would be an important legacy of this term of this Parliament for us to leave behind a code of conduct. The issue which has kept it from being agreed all along is the question of who should deal with complaints and make and give judgment on them. I understand that the standards through the Honorable Attorney General's office, that the Standards in Public Life Commission has agreed to accept that responsibility. If that does transpire, I think that should allay any concerns that members may have about the majority using the code of conduct to beat the minority, because everyone should be then satisfied that there will be an independent body that looks at complaints that are received. The other point I want to make, and this is just my thinking, is I believe it is important, if and when, prayerfully, a code of conduct is agreed, that it is given the force of law. Obviously, any other parliament may change any law, but I do not believe that some voluntary code is going to be sufficient. I think whatever we agree needs to have the force of law behind it. And I ask the Honorable Premier, who I know is listening, and the Honorable Acting Premier to bear that in mind, as well as the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, with whom I've already spoken about this matter. So I hope by saying those few words that we will get some impetus and that we can get this done and dusted by the next time the House meets as well.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member from West Bay West.
For my information at least, didn't we sign some code of conduct, and wasn't it the opposition that did not sign it? So where is anything outstanding at this time? I certainly don't have anything new if something has been passed around, I don't have anything new, and I would certainly ask you, Mr. Speaker, to see that members get something, because I certainly don't know. I don't know if any other member, from what I'm hearing, the grumbling is that doesn't seem to anybody have any paper to see. So I don't know what the situation is, but I know, sitting in that chair, something was signed. I don't think that the opposition agreed, from what I recall, that on everything, so I don't think the opposition signed. But I know something was signed by members.
Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, if there is something new, and I hear your call, if there is something new, at least I would like to see some kind of paperwork to know what's happening. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for allowing.
Honorable member from West Bay West, you're right. The government at the time, the government members at the time, signed a code of conduct voluntarily. The terms of it were not acceptable to the opposition simply because of this issue I just raised. Who would sit in judgment over complaints? So that issue, as I indicated, I am being told through the auspices of the Honorable Attorney General's office, is close to being resolved, with the Standards in Public Life Commission having agreed to assume that role. So my urging today is simply hoping that by what I say, the parties who seem close to agreement can finalize this, and this House at a very soon meeting can adopt it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Now I understand that you're at some distance into it. I still haven't seen anything as a member of the House. I still haven't seen anything, any kind of paperwork, and I'm hoping that it's not going to just be decided between Leader of Opposition and Premier. I would suspect that we would sit and go through it to make sure that it's something that we can all live with.
Absolutely, Honorable Member. I think, as I said, the only real issue has been this question of who should entertain the complaints. So once that hurdle has been surmounted, hopefully there'll be a draft that all members can consider, and as you say, we can go through it line by line and agree. Because as I said, I think it will be an important and lasting legacy of this term in office. Madam Clerk.
Presentation of petitions.
None.
Presentation of papers and of reports.
Many.
Cayman Islands National Energy Policy 2024 to 2045. Enhancing and embracing a sustainable lifestyle through responsible, affordable, and innovative energy supply and consumption. Approved by Cabinet 16th April 2024. To be laid on the table by the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. I beg to lay on the table the Cayman Islands National Energy Policy 2024-2025, enhancing and embracing a sustainable lifestyle through responsible, affordable, and innovative energy supply and consumption.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Minister wish to speak thereto?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Briefly.
Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to present to the members of this Honourable House the updated National Energy Policy 2024 to 2045, along with the accompanying implementation and monitoring plan, as well as the public consultation report. Mr. Speaker, this is the first update to the National Energy Policy since its initial approval by the government in 2017 and includes revised targets, new definitions, and strategies to ensure market fairness and consumer inclusion. The journey to renewable energy officially commenced in 2017 with the approval of the initial energy policy, setting the foundation for our exploration into renewable energy sources for our Cayman Islands. In accordance with the 2017 policy, a 5-year review began in 2022. The Energy Policy Council, with support from the Ministry of Sustainability, embarked on this review, which was an extensive 19-month collaborative effort with the CADMAS Group, leveraging their high-quality technical expertise to update the policy. This comprehensive process involved engaging a diverse array of public and private sector stakeholders through various channels, including focus group meetings, one-on-one consultations, a virtual town hall meeting, and a public engagement survey to gather written feedback. I also just want to put on record that all of that was done under the former minister, the Honorable Wayne Panton. The updated policy, which has been refined through multiple drafts to incorporate all stakeholder input, sets forth ambitious new targets for 2045, underscoring our government's unwavering commitment to advancing renewable energy. This updated policy is the culmination of significant collaborative efforts guiding us towards a more sustainable future. The implementation and monitoring plan provides a breakdown of the actions that the government has chosen to undertake to achieve these ambitious new targets. Mr. Speaker, everyone is feeling the pinch of increased energy cost, and a quick look at our electricity bills highlights the increasing challenge that every consumer is facing. A significant portion of these bills is related to the cost of fuel. This is a long-standing issue presenting significant economic, environmental, and social challenges. The urgency to transition to sustainable energy sources has never been greater. The implementation of the National Energy Policy is driven by actions aligned with its strategic goals and overarching vision of enhancing and embracing a sustainable lifestyle through responsible, affordable, and innovative energy supply and consumption. These actions are detailed in the accompanying plan, which outlines responsible parties and entities, resources, and timelines. The updated policy also introduces several notable changes that reflect a strategic shift in our energy landscape. Under this updated policy, consumers will be granted the explicit right to install and self-consume up to 20 kilowatts of solar energy paired with battery storage, fostering individual empowerment in energy consumption. Making renewable energy accessible to all residents of the Cayman Islands is pivotal for the policy to be successful. Furthermore, the policy now formally defines utility scale as energy generation facilities with a capacity of 5 megawatts or greater, bringing clarity to regulatory frameworks. And in an effort to uphold fairness and equity in our energy market, the new policy states that larger utility companies cannot directly compete with small-scale or domestic companies or using any unfair advantages within the industry. This measure is designed to protect the interests of both utility companies and private sector solar providers, ensuring a level playing field. The National Energy Policy is crucial for maintaining the Cayman Islands as a sustainable and competitive economy engaging all citizens in transforming the energy landscape. It proposes a structured framework for implementation, which includes continuous monitoring, carrying out periodic reviews and performance evaluations, with mechanisms for adjusting strategic aims as necessary. This new energy policy will undergo a mandatory review in 2 years to assess the progress made towards the main goals and to reevaluate priorities and strategies as necessary. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the National Energy Policy 2024 to 2045 is a transformative blueprint for our energy independence. It aligns our country's energy strategy with global sustainability goals and addresses the pressing need for climate action. By embracing increased renewable energy, enhancing efficiency, and fostering innovation, we are safeguarding our global economic status, maintaining our precious environment, and ensuring a brighter and more promising future for everyone in our beloved Cayman Islands. And before I sit, Mr. Speaker, I just want to thank all of the minister's staff and the consultants who worked very hard, as well as the National Energy Council, to get this policy to where it is today.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Madam Clerk.
Cayman Islands National Energy Policy 2024 to 2045. Implementation and Monitoring Plan, adopted by Cabinet, 16th April 2024.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to lay the Cayman Islands National Energy Policy 2024 to 2045 Implementation and Monitoring Plan.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Minister wish to speak thereto?
No, Mr. Speaker, I just spoke to it. Thank you.
Very well.
Cayman Islands National Energy Policy 2024 to 2045 Public Consultation Report, 16th April 2024.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to lay the National Energy Policy Public Consultation Report 2024 to 2045.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Minister wish to speak thereto?
No, thank you.
Very well. Madam Clerk.
Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency, Cayman Islands Government Annual Report 2023, to be laid on the table by the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to lay the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency Annual Report 2023.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Minister wish to speak thereto?
Just briefly, Mr. Speaker, just to say that since taking on this role as Minister for Sustainability, whilst this ministry might be small in stature, it has a very heavy and busy workload. The staff, both at the Ministry and Department of Environment, work very hard. And as members will look through this report, you will see that the team has been very busy for the year of 2023. Whilst I was not the minister for most of this year, I want to thank them for all of their hard work, as well as the former minister for what he did along with the team during this time. Thank you.
Madam Clerk. Yeah.
National Conservation Council, Cayman Islands, 2022 Annual Report, to be laid on the table by the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to lay the National Conservation Council Annual Report 2022.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Minister wish to speak thereto?
Again, just briefly, this is a 2022 report. I wasn't the minister at that time, but again, just to thank the National Conservation Council for all of the work that they do with providing feedback in relation to any projects that are being considered.
National Conservation Council Cayman Islands 2023 Annual Report, to be laid on the table by the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to lay the National Conservation Council 2023-2024 Annual Report.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Minister wish to speak thereto?
Just to add, I should have said earlier, when I said hard work, it says it here in the cover, promoting and securing biological diversity and the sustainable use of natural resources in the Cayman Islands. Again, just to thank the team for all of their hard work.
National Trust Cayman Islands Annual Report 2022 to 2023, to be laid on the table by the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Getting my exercise this morning. I wish to lay the 2022-2023 Annual Report for the National Trust of the Cayman Islands.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Minister wish to speak thereto?
Just again briefly to thank all of the members of the National Trust for their hard work and partnership. One of the things that I've discovered since becoming the minister is how closely the National Trust works with the Ministry of Sustainability as well as the Department of Environment, and we thank them for all of their efforts to continue our aim to keep the environment safe and protected.
Very well.
2022-2023 Annual Report of the Standing Public Accounts Committee, to be laid on the table by the Chairman of the Standing Public Accounts Committee, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I recognize the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of this Honourable Parliament the 2022-23 Annual Report of the Standing Public Accounts Committee.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Leader wish to speak thereto?
Very briefly, Mr. Speaker, just to report really that this report documents the meetings of the committee that took place during the past year, those who attended, the public hearings that we held, and the reports and documents that were considered by the PAC, and those that have been tabled in the House. Thank you, sir.
Office of the Auditor General, Cayman Islands. Financial Reporting of the Cayman Islands Government. General Report, 31 December 2022, October 2023. To be laid on the table by the Chairman of the Standing Public Accounts Committee, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Recognize the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, sir, may I also table the report that immediately follows that one, which is the report of the committee on this report?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of this Honourable Parliament a report of the Auditor General entitled Financial Reporting of the Cayman Islands Government, General Report, 31st of December 2022, together with the report of the Standing Public Accounts Committee on the report of the Office of the Auditor General, Financial Reporting of the Cayman Islands Government, General Report, 31st of December 2022, October 2023.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Leader wish to speak to the two reports?
No, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think everything in all the information in there is self-explanatory.
Very well.
Office of the Auditor General, Cayman Islands. Remuneration of the Cabinet, Judiciary, MPs, and key management personnel within the civil service. November 2023. To be laid on the table by the Chairman of the Standing Public Accounts Committee, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I recognize the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of this Honourable Parliament a report from the Office of the Auditor General entitled Remuneration of the Cabinet, Judiciary, Members of Parliament, and Key Management Personnel within the Civil Service.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Leader wish to speak thereto?
Mr. Speaker, just to mention that the Public Accounts Committee did not hold any hearings with respect to this report. It's more of an information report only for the benefit of third parties and anyone who is interested in the subject matter.
Very well.
SAI Performance Report. Office of the Auditor General, Cayman Islands. Final report, 9th November 2023. To be laid on the table by the Chairman of the Standing Public Accounts Committee, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I recognize the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of this Honourable House the report on the Office of the Auditor General, Cayman Islands, the SAI Performance Report, and dated November 9th, 2023.
Honourable Leader, what does SAI stand for?
I can explain to everyone right now, Mr. Speaker. I
think,
would like to speak briefly to this report.
We are all blissfully ignorant.
Mr. Speaker, the SAI is Supreme Audit Institutions,
Wow.
which is a term that it refers to government Auditor General's offices. They are regarded as what they call offices or Supreme Audit Institutions. So, Mr. Speaker, what we have here is an audit that was performed by other Auditor Generals, persons from other Auditor General's office on the Office of the Auditor General here. So it's the first time, to my knowledge, Mr. Speaker, that a report that an exercise like this has ever been conducted on the Office of the Auditor General here in Cayman. And, Mr. Speaker, they weren't looking necessarily at the financial information or the financial audit. They are looking at the performance of the Office of the Auditor General and whether the office is conducting itself in accordance with required international and professional standards. So there are 6 key areas that they assessed the Auditor General's office on. I'll just briefly mention them. Independence and legal framework was one. Secondly, their internal governance and ethics. Third is their audit quality and reporting. Fourth is financial management, assets and support services. E, human resources and training. And finally, communication and stakeholder management. I have to say the outcome of the findings was very positive for the Office of the Auditor General, and I think it's something we as a country can be proud of, because in terms of size, the Office of the Auditor General here is very highly regarded in the region, and they are regarded as providing real value for the services that they give to the people and government of the Cayman Islands. So I'm really pleased with this report that they have received, and I commend it to members of this Honourable House and to anyone who might have an interest in the work of the office. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for your explanation, Mr. Leader. I think so. Mr. Leader, we can't recall whether I ordered it to be laid on. Well,
Mr. Speaker, I don't think you did.
okay.
Yeah.
In any event, even if I did, it's no harm doing it twice, so ordered.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Office of the Auditor General, Cayman Islands Annual Report, 31 December 2023. Providing value to the people of the Cayman Islands, April 2024. To be laid on the table by the Chairman of the Standing Public Accounts Committee, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
I recognize the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of this Honourable Parliament the annual report and audited financial statements of the Office of the Auditor General for the year ended the 31st of December 2023.
So ordered. Does the Honourable Leader wish to speak thereto?
No, sir. I think the report is completely self-explanatory. Thank you.
Very well.
Own Initiative Investigation Report, FOI, on government websites, December 2023. To be laid on the table by the Chairman of the Select Committee to oversee the performance of the Office of the Ombudsman, the elected member for West Bay North.
I recognize the elected member for West Bay North.
Mr. Chairman, I beg to lay this on the table, sir.
So ordered. Does the honourable member wish to speak thereto?
No, that's self-explanatory, sir.
Very well.
Office of the Ombudsman Annual Report 2023. To be laid on the table by the Chairman of the Select Committee to oversee the performance of the Office of the Ombudsman, the elected member for West Bay North.
I recognize the elected member for West Bay North.
Mr. Chairman, I beg to lay on the table this annual report for the Office of the Ombudsman, Annual Report 2023.
So ordered. Does the honourable member wish to speak thereto?
Yes, sir.
Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, as you and the public will see from the annual report from the Office of the Ombudsman, the office responded to just under 500 inquiries during 2023. This is a 50% increase in complaints received over the previous year, with no increase in the number of staff. And to the members of this House, it has to be addressed. It's a well-run office in spite of the pressure that it's been under. The office prides itself on its integrity and the high standard of service it provides to the Caymanian public. The value of this service cannot be overstated. As an alternative system of justice, the Office of the Ombudsman handles complaints by the public free of charge by impartially and confidentially and independently investigating complaints made against the government, the police, and in some cases, the private sector. Without this important independent office, recourse for wrongs would be limited or impossible. I repeat, it would be impossible without the means to afford recourse through the court, and worse, it would widen the door of corruption. In this regard, Mr. Speaker, the independence of the Office of the Ombudsman must be respected and allowed to carry out its function free of interference by any person or authority. It is a unique creature in all of government, reporting only to its Parliamentary Oversight Committee and the Governor, that I proudly chair, along with the Honourable J.E. Banks, Mr. Chris Saunders, Mr. Joey Hugh, and others. It's important to guard against governmental abuse of power, corruption, and other ills that cannot be overstated. The Cayman Islands is on a world stage. Any interference by any person or authority with this independent office is a black eye to this country and a contradiction to principles to which we subscribe, such as accountability, transparency, and upholding the rule of law. This office must be left to carry out its important functions to guard the public against overreach by its government in a fair, independent, and impartial process. Any person who believes in the virtue of an accountable government must respect and support this important office. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member.
2022 to 2023, Annual Report of the Standing Select Committee to oversee the performance of the Office of the Ombudsman, to be laid on the table by the Chairman of the Select Committee to oversee the performance of the Office of the Ombudsman, the elected member for West Bay North.
I recognize the elected member for West Bay North.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I beg the latest report on the table, sir.
So ordered. Does the honourable member wish to speak thereto?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I would like to publicly, on behalf of the committee that oversees the Ombudsman's office, thank her and her staff for performing under a lot of undue pressure that the public will soon, I'm sure, be aware of. And they've done an outstanding job, and we wish them well, and we thank her and her staff so very much for doing an outstanding job. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Questions to honourable ministers and members of the Cabinet.
As we have passed the hour of 11 o'clock, in order for questions to be asked of ministers, we'll need a suspension of Standing Order 23.7 and 23.8.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Recognize Honourable Acting Premier.
I move the suspension of Standing Order 23.7 and 23.8 in order for questions to be asked beyond the hour of 11 a.m.
The question is that Standing Orders 23.7 and 8 be suspended in order that questions may be asked of ministers after the hour of 11 o'clock. Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those against, no. The ayes have it. Standing Order 23.7 and 8 are accordingly suspended.
The elected member for Georgetown South to ask the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness and Home Affairs, question number 19.
I recognize the elected member for Georgetown South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 19, standing in my name to the Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness and Home Affairs. Question. Can the Honourable Minister update the House on the timeline for the opening of Ponciana, the new long-term residential mental health facility, and confirm what plans have been put in place for the safe repatriation of Caymanian patients currently being treated in overseas facilities to the new facility? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Health and Wellness to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Answer. With the utmost respect to the honourable members of this House and the wider public, I will not provide yet another estimated time frame for the completion of Ponciana Rehabilitation Centre, as that remains beyond my control and the remit of my ministerial team. Thus, I cannot provide a timeline for the grand opening of the facility, as that will only happen once it has been fully handed over to the Ministry of Health and Wellness. What I can say, Mr. Speaker, is that my ministerial team was informed that on Monday, July 20, issued a special permission to occupy SPO, that I'll be using that acronym through this response, for 3 buildings within Ponciana. These are the administration building, the cafeteria, and activity center, Mr. Speaker. While I appreciate that this is not the update that we would have had hoped for, this is a step in the right direction, Mr. Speaker. By being able to move into the facility, Ponciana employees, of which we now have 22, will be able to begin important preparation to receive clients. Up until now, Ponciana employees have focused on policy development, procurement of equipment, training, orientations, and skills development. Once the grounds of the facility, Ponciana staff, once on the grounds, the facility, Ponciana staff will be able to set up administrative functions, conduct site orientations, and complete site-specific training and drills, among numerous other things. For the benefit of the listening public, Mr. Speaker, the issuance of an SPO, Special Permission Occupancy, from the Department of Planning means that the structure satisfies all life safety requirements, such as mechanical, electrical, and fire. Being granted an SPO allows approved personnel, such as staff, safe use of the building while the inspection process continues and until the final certificate of occupancy is issued. Receiving the SPO is a project milestone, and it brings us one step closer to opening our doors. At the location, the Director of Ponciana will be finalizing the internal procedures and activities needed to accommodate the facility's residents. Once these procedures are in place and the necessary building approvals have been granted for the residential sections of the facility, Phase 2 will focus on repatriation and admission of residents. This brings me to the repatriations of Caymanians being treated overseas, Mr. Speaker. In the first instance, arrangements will be made for the return of those who currently reside in Jamaica group homes, as Ponciana's director has visited those residents on more than one occasion, as assessments of their needs and their immigration status have been completed. By immigration status, Mr. Speaker, I mean that some residents required travel documents, and as such, further discussions will be held with the Passport and Corporate Services to assist in preparing relevant paperwork. When an admission date is in fact confirmed, the Director of Ponciana and her team will make the appropriate arrangements, including those related to travel. It is expected, Mr. Speaker, that residents will be accompanied by Ponciana's staff throughout their return journey to ensure a safe transition and a positive experience as they return home. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Supplementaries? The Honourable Member for Georgetown South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Minister mentioned that there's 22 employees that actually have been recruited. Are they on staff? Are they now being paid while they wait for this facility to be opened? Can you give some indication of where these 22 people are at just now?
The Honourable Minister to answer.
Mr. Speaker, I have been reliably informed, and based on what I stated in the original answer, that they're a part of the whole preparation process, and yes, from what I'm understanding, they are being paid.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Any further supplementaries? The Honourable Member for Georgetown South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think we have waited far too long for this facility to be opened. And I think we are all the members of this House have constituents that are waiting to occupy this facility. There has to be some urgency.
Honourable Member, can you turn that into a question?
No, I'm getting there, Mr. Speaker. So this is a little preamble before. But I think we need to know, we need to have some sort of time frame in place as to when we will be able, our people will be able to occupy this facility. What is the urgency? We need some undertaking that this facility will be open sooner rather than later. So my question is, we need a time frame. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister to answer. I think the question is, when will the facility open? What is the time frame? That's the questions I extract from.
Mr. Speaker, again, as I've stated in the original response given, the project remains in the hands of Public Works, and until a certificate of occupancy is given to the Ministry of Health and Wellness, I am unable to say what that time frame is. I'm so grateful for the answer for the latest update that was provided just Monday, stating that this temporary occupancy has been approved. That is a huge milestone. I have, and as so many in my ministry are aware, that the operational arm of this falls outside the remit, the project management, for what was inherited by this administration. There are some issues where licensures and being up to speed with electrical, MEP. There's a plethora of problems for what I have been advised that has been found in hindsight, and they're trying to rectify that before we can safely and being responsible put patients in that facility. I hope that satisfies the member.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Madam Clerk. I'm not sure the Minister can take this any further, Honourable Member.
Well, I think I still have an opportunity to ask a parliamentary question, Mr. Speaker.
Please ask a question and no long preamble.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can the Honourable Minister say how many of the 22 employees' spots are for Caymanians that have been filled by Caymanians?
Mr.
Honourable
Speaker.
Minister.
Sure, thank you. I have been reliably informed that 2 Caymanians are on staff currently. All others are non-Caymanian. Within the next 2 months, this will change to reflect 50% of the Caymanians. The trainee psychiatric nursing program will add a further 18 Caymanians to the staff at Ponciana, and the recruitment for this is being finalized with the commencement of the training program expected to be by September of this year.
Madam Clerk.
The elected member for Cayman Brac West and Little Cayman to ask the Honourable Minister of Tourism and Ports. Question number 20.
Recognize the Honourable Member for Cayman Brac West and Little Cayman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask question number 20, standing in my name, to the Honourable Minister of Tourism and Ports. It reads, can the Minister provide an update on when the third Twin Otter aircraft will be received in CAL's fleet as an interim measure to improve the airlift into the sister islands, and when the Saab aircraft, which services Cayman Brac, will be upgraded?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism and Ports to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the answer is, following a comprehensive tendering process, the additional aircraft was selected and purchased, I'm happy to announce. It is currently being customized to meet the Cayman Airways technical specifications and achieve the required maintenance status. The aircraft is currently scheduled to be delivered in August of 2024. To the second part of the member's question, Cayman Airways has enlisted an aviation consultancy firm following the required tendering process to conduct the thorough research and analysis necessary for identifying the optimal replacement for its Saab aircraft fleet. A draft consultancy report has recently been received and is currently under evaluation by company Cayman Airways. The airline expects to present replacement aircrafts, types and model options, and recommendations to the government within 30 days. This will then facilitate government's decision on initial and future funding, as well as establishment of realistic timelines for the procurement process and the various operational preparations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Supplementaries. The Honourable Member for Cayman Brac West and Little Cayman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me take the opportunity to thank the Honourable Minister for the comprehensive answer, and it is certainly good news. Mr. Speaker, my next question really is a result of an article that was in the Compass on the 21st of July, 2024, and it outlines that the exemption that the Twin Otter aircraft fly into Little Cayman under is being suspended. And it says, however, it has been temporarily extended that the end of September, the Cayman Compass understands that the exemption will no longer be in place, which obviously would mean they can't fly into Little Cayman. If we could ask the minister to give us an update on that.
It's a bit outside the scope of the question, but if I were the minister, I would try to answer it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, but that's why you're not the minister. Mr. Speaker, I would encourage the member to leave that to Finance Committee where the scope of questions could be wider. I do understand where you're going with your line of question because it has to do with the airport's authority and the approvals for the types of aircrafts that we're buying. So any direction on where we're going with the SAB aircrafts obviously has to do with the airport and what kind of airport we're going to have in Little Cayman. I think that's fundamentally what you're trying to get at. And Mr. Speaker, I would advise this Honourable House that while we're going through the comprehensive decision as to what's going to transpire in our beloved Little Cayman and how that decision of that airport will affect the purchasing of any upgraded fleets will happen in due course. Obviously, the comprehensive report that was done by the Airports Authority on their expansion did indicate a development of a new airport in Little Cayman. But I'm also cognizant that the member would be aware of the positions of persons in Little Cayman about what type of airport, whether it should be in the same location, whether it should be expanded at the current location, and there has to be a government position in full clarity as to what our decision will be in respect to the location. Mr. Speaker, I would advise this Honourable House that the Little Cayman situation is a very delicate one. We are trying to preserve the uniqueness that Little Cayman offers by way of its culture and its tourism product, while at the same time having an advanced infrastructure and transportation system that can deliver the top level quality that we deliver to the world. Mr. Speaker, while delivering that and understanding our international transportation obligations. So the unique balance of that is challenging. I can give this Honourable House the commitment that we will find that balance appropriately and have further announcements. And those announcements will obviously give our national flag carrier company, Cayman Airways, enough direction on the necessary purchases of the upgraded SAB aircrafts. As the member would also be aware that it is the vision of the company, Cayman Airways, to ultimately reduce down to just 2 aircraft types, therefore reducing the cost of maintenance as well as the servicing parts necessary for them. But the government's job is to make sure that we get that balance correct, and there's a lot of moving parts, while at the same time meeting the travel needs and the aviation obligations. As you know, we're regulated by Cayman's Airports Authority, by the Honourable Acting Deputy Premier being in charge of that. And we do have to answer to international regulations upon which we report to the Honourable Her Excellency, the Governor. I can only say that we can't give you a comprehensive answer on the purchases of those until that is solidified, and I hope to be able to update this Honourable House in the next sitting, which has been indicated to potentially be in September, with a more comprehensive approach as to what Cayman Airways will do once there is a clearer position as to what will happen in the Little Cayman airport operations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Cayman Brac West and Little Cayman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, I thank my good friend, the Minister, because for taking the question and providing an answer. And I know you will appreciate this. When your constituents call and say the regulatory body is going to stop the ability at the end of September to fly in to Little Cayman's airport, what are we going to do, right? The answer I'm looking for is an update or some guidance on, does the government feel comfortable by the end of September, a solution will be found that the actual physical act of flying a Twin Otter aircraft, the new third Twin Otter that is being purchased, will be able to fly in to Little Cayman October 1st.
Honourable Minister to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And again, I thank the Honourable former Minister for that question, because it's a very important one. It is important that we give comfort to those within the parameters of Little Cayman, the information to know that I can give you the commitment that services will not be ceased. Many people depend on their livelihoods through tourism in the Little Cayman, but also for transportation in and out of the domestic travel. I am confident, after conversations with Her Excellency, as well as the person in charge of Cayman Airports Authority, Aviation Authority, Mr. Richard Smith, that there will be a solution that allows him to continue the extension. I think it's fair that I can relieve here today and for the public's hearing. The concern is the government's confirmed position as to what it's going to do with the airport operations. As it is now, we recognize it's an exemption, and that exemption cannot go on infinitum. We have to decide how we're going to address that. And as I said before, the complexities of that is, one, upgrading the current airport at its location with many domestic homes close by, road infrastructures, costing and purchases of properties of those who own. There's a lot of complexities in that. But the government, the former government, and this government has within its possession properties that are in a different location that has been earmarked for a new airport. But it comes with other complications from an environmental perspective. And we know that we're going through these challenging times with strong positions as per the environment. So it's an obligation of me as Minister to work with the Airports Authority to ensure that the only option that we do have is to go to the new location, and we have to determine that by eliminating the current option as no other way forward. And my initial position is that the current location would not be feasible for a number of factors, from financing, from legal challenges to property ownership, from moving of communities, road infrastructure, and so forth. But it's not for me to determine that just based on opinion, by fact. And I can give this Honourable House the position that we will be bringing a report back to caucus to confirm the government's position if the data indicates that it will be too onerous on the government, or any government for that fact, to move to try to upgrade the current location, and therefore we must go to the new location, which will have its own challenges by way of environmental concerns, but ones that can be mitigated by a proper environmental impact assessment. But in the interim, to answer your question, I can give the commitment to the members of the Little Cayman community that their transportation in and out for their businesses and their personal transport will not be affected based on the communications with CAAA.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. One final supplementary.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the Minister for the answer, and it's certainly good news that the airport will not have any type of interruption at the end of September, early October for transportation. I think the Minister already knows this, but if I can help in some way, you and I are more than available. My final question, Mr. Speaker, is thank you for the update on the study that's being done by Cayman Airways Management on the two types of planes that you want to settle with for the sister islands. We had a long discussion about this in Finance Committee when the discussion was about the funding. Are you comfortable that we're in a position, once this study is completed, that funding will be available?
The Minister to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can say that the government is in a good financial position based on its budgetary projections. I don't see any hurdles in the way that would stop us from getting the monies that were needed within the period of time. And I preface that, Mr. Speaker, on the basis of when that money would be needed. The truth is, for us to transition into a new aircraft would take a long time based on the airport development, based on decisions as to what the airport would be like, and procurement of aircrafts anyway. In all honesty, before we even get to slimming down to just 2 types of aircrafts, particularly that of the new SAB options that are out there that we are intending to use, you're looking possibly 2 to 5 years before that completion. And the government of the day will be potentially a different one, or are in a different financial position. So to say to you today that are we okay to give the affordability, I don't think it would be called for within this budget. But I'm certain that any government that is selected in the next administration, and hopefully I will be a part of that with my team that are here today, because we've proven to the people that we are effective in our delivery, that we will be able to give the necessary funding to continue the transportation into the vital island of Little Cayman, which offers a very unique tourism product different from Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Final question?
Final.
Final. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So if I understand what you have just said, the upgrade from the Saab aircraft for Cayman Brac is 2 to 4 years out.
Honourable Minister to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think it's only fair to the listening public, and particularly for the media, because I know they will quote the timelines. I'm only giving you a common man's estimation. I have no research data to give that, but I know that just on the basis of going through this procurement on one twin auto, also transitioning a maintenance department within an airline will take some time. So I'm only giving you a guesstimate that based on my history as a minister, how long government takes, how long the procurement takes, as well as depending on the government's progress with the development of the new airport, is what will factor in respect to the timeline. And I am not confident, Honourable Member, that timeline will be within the next 3, or within this administration, or within the next 3 to 5 years because of the timeline. If you think about an airport development, hypothetically speaking, if we were to agree tomorrow that we're going to build a new airport that would allow for the ATRs to be done, the building of that airport would have to be completed before we go into purchasing of those aircrafts. So we're far out, but the journey has to start with the first couple of steps, and this is where we are today. And I'm certain that regardless of which government is in, they too will prioritize this more efficient approach, more cheaper approach, and more reliable approach for transportation into Little Cayman, while at the same time keeping its unique culture and presentation of product.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Madam Clerk.
The elected member for Newlands to ask the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Question number 21.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Newlands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask a question under my name in the order paper, which is, can the Honourable Minister say why the draft National Climate Change Policy, which has been completed for some 10 months now, of course, when this question was filed, it was some more than a month ago, so we're closer to a year now, but which has not been adopted and published as a guide to long-term planning in light of the recognition of the severe risk to our economy, to the lives of our people, and to our national environment, identified by the National Climate Change Risk Assessment completed in 2022.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister for Sustainability and Climate Resiliency to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in relation to the member's question, I can say that following an extensive 60-day public consultation period last year, the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency presented a revised draft of the Cayman Islands climate change policy to Cabinet in October of 2023. This revised draft incorporated feedback from the hundreds of comments received during the public consultation period from members of the public, relevant industry groups, and government stakeholders. The member would know this, as this was when he was the then minister. Since November of 2023, additional edits from the elected leadership have been incorporated into the document. The ministry has submitted the updated draft policy to Cabinet for approval, but it has not yet been placed on the agenda for consideration. The ministry has continued to progress related work such as public awareness of the severe risk that climate change poses to our beloved islands.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Supplementaries?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Minister for her response. Mr. Speaker, given the time that has passed and the reality that we have just experienced a record hurricane in terms of the timing, in terms of where it originated, in terms of impacts within the Caribbean, and how lucky we were that it reduced in its intensity significantly. I'd like a confirmation from the Minister that the government appreciates the severity of the risks we're facing in relation to climate change issues. And
that's a question.
I'll leave it at that,
yeah.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Minister to answer.
Mr. Speaker, what I can say to the honourable member is that from the Ministry of Sustainability, we will continue to work on the policy and any other initiatives in relation to climate change awareness. The matter is placed, it has been sent to be placed on the Cabinet agenda, and we will continue to press forward. Can't really speak on behalf of the government because it has not yet been reconsidered since it was previously seen by the last caucus. I hope that offers some clarity, but I really can't give a definitive answer on that at this stage.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. For the supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Just to say thank you to the Minister, and that I certainly appreciate her efforts, the Ministry's efforts, the challenges of addressing this issue. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
The elected member for Newlands to ask the Honourable Minister of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency, question number 22.
Recognize the Honourable Minister, the Honourable Member for Newlands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise again to ask the question under my name on the order paper, which is, can the Honourable Minister say why the draft anti-sexual harassment bill, which has had nearly a year of public consultation, not being approved by Cabinet to be published in order to be presented to Parliament?
The Honourable Minister for Sustainability and Climate Resiliency to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To answer the member's question, as you just rightfully said, this anti-sexual harassment bill has gone through multiple rounds of public consultation and stakeholder review since it was, since Cabinet initially approved the issuance of the draft and instructions, which was back in 2022. Following the public consultation that took place in 2023, the draft Anti-Sexual Harassment Bill 2023 was completed and submitted to the Office of the Premier in October 2023. The Gender Affairs Unit was transferred to the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency in January 2024. The bill was considered by caucus in April 2024, and the Gender Affairs Unit has been requested to explore additional options for reporting and adjudicating sexual harassment cases. As soon as the Ministry has completed the requested task, the bill will be returned to Cabinet for consideration. And I'd also like to say to the member, he might recall that prior to me, or while I was a parliamentary secretary, this particular draft bill was something that I was passionate about. It's something that the youth parliamentarians worked very studiously on, and I wanted to ensure that our young people felt that their voices were heard, as well as being a female, being a mother, having sisters. It's certainly something that I would be very proud to get to the finish line as the Minister responsible for gender affairs.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Supplementary?
Mr. Speaker, just to thank the Minister for her response and to say that I will certainly share her pride when this bill gets presented and we're able to put this in place and reflect the interests of women in the country. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition, the elected member for Georgetown East, to ask the Honourable Deputy Premier, Minister of Financial Services and Commerce and Investment, Innovation and Social Development. Question number 23.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask question number 23, standing in my name, which reads, Can the Honourable Minister state whether the new Department of Financial Assistance is meeting the performance targets which the Minister told the House he had set for it?
The Honourable Acting Deputy Premier to answer.
Good morning again, and thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank the member for the question. Answer. The department implemented Zendesk in February 2024 to better support the new client care team. This launch marked a new era for client services capabilities, enabling the client care team with a staff complement within that unit of 4 persons to operate with optimal efficiency. The client care team was launched in August 2023 to facilitate seamless interaction between clients and financial assistance officers. By processing requests and facilitating timely responses, the team ensures effective resolution of client concerns. Zendesk has provided the department with the tools necessary to ensure that client interactions are seamless, efficient, and satisfactory. Zendesk is a cutting-edge client relationship management system that revolutionizes the way the department manages and optimizes its call center operations, email communications, and online interactions, including through its instant chat box feature. Utilizing advanced artificial intelligence, AI, Zendesk instantly comprehends common client concerns, efficiently routes tickets, those of which are created anytime there's a client inquiry, and provides our team with actionable insights and suggestions. This sophisticated platform comes equipped with AI-powered tools designed to streamline service workflows, empower officers to resolve issues more quickly, and effortlessly scale our knowledge base. By implementing this system for the first time, we now have comprehensive data to analyze client interactions and feedback. By reviewing this data, we can continually refine our processes, achieve targets for key performance indicators, and ensure that the department meets and exceeds client expectations. This represents a significant investment in improving the client experience for those who are accessing financial assistance. Outlined below are the key performance indicators, KPIs, being measured by the department in the implementation of Zendesk, which was the root of the question, Mr. Speaker. Initial response time. Respond to at least 90% of urgent queries within 24 hours, or less urgent inquiries within 48 to 72 hours. Resolution time. Establish a first contact resolution rate of 70% or higher to minimize client follow-up needs. And thirdly, wait time for support agent. Maintain an average hold time of less than 5 minutes while taking account of sensitivity and urgency of client inquiries, and a target of at least 80% of calls to be answered with a hold time of 3 minutes or less. Between February 2024 and June 2024, the client care team successfully resolved 5,513 tickets. In resolving these tickets, they were able to achieve the first 2 targets set and continue to work towards achieving the third. The first target was to ensure that at least 90% of urgent inquiries were answered within 24 hours and less urgent inquiries within 48 to 72 hours. The department has surpassed this target significantly. On average, from February to June, 91.4% of all tickets were answered within 1 business day. This demonstrates the department's commitment to timely assistance and addressing urgent concerns with efficiency and dedication. The second target was to establish a first contact resolution of 70% or higher. This metric is crucial as it measures the department's effectiveness in resolving issues during the initial interaction, thereby enhancing client satisfaction and reducing the need for follow-up communication. The department has excelled in this area as well, achieving an impressive 96.5% first contact rate. This means that clients who are inquiring about financial assistance are able to be supported and have their concerns resolved without having to speak to multiple people and continue to follow up. On the third target, focused on reducing the average hold time to under 3 minutes for 80% of the calls received and answering all of the calls within 5 minutes. By gathering this data, we are able to determine that the department receives an average of approximately 350 calls per week. The department has achieved an average response time of 1 minute and 13 seconds when answering calls. However, calls that were in the queue while the client care team is occupied with other clients are abandoned, and an average hold time of 3 minutes and 19 seconds. Further, they are receiving most of the calls between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. During this time, the department is receiving more calls than they're able to answer within the targeted time frame. By integrating innovative solutions into social development, we're now able to make data-driven decisions and develop solutions instead of relying on estimations. By gathering this data, the department is considering staggered lunch times for the client care team and also encouraging clients to contact them outside of those peak hours for faster service. The department remains committed to minimizing wait times for those seeking assistance. Will continue to evaluate options to ensure timely responses, including encouraging more online applications. An additional target that the department captures is client satisfaction, which speaks volumes about the effectiveness of our services and the dedication of our team. an impressive 93% average in the Happy or Not ratings for January to June 2024 reflects the positive experience and high level of satisfaction among those we serve. The remarkable rating is a testament to our continuous efforts to enhance service delivery, address client needs promptly, and ensure that every interaction contributes to a favorable outcome. It underscores the success of the initiatives such as the implementation of Zendesk, which is partly an AI tool, as I mentioned, and the full staffing of the client care team in achieving and maintaining high standards of client care. The department has achieved remarkable success. There always remains room for improvement. Leveraging technology allows us to identify deficiencies and address them proactively. For the first time in the department's history, we have access to comprehensive data that empowers us to analytically determine the best strategies for improvement. This shift marks a significant milestone in our ongoing commitment to optimizing service delivery and meeting the needs of our clients more effectively. In summary, the department's implementation of the client care team and Zendesk have continued to be successful. We commend the department's achievements in answering urgent inquiries, resolving issues at first contact, and working towards maintaining a swift response time. These accomplishments reflect their dedication to providing exceptional service and support to the public when delivering financial assistance.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Supplementaries? I didn't think so. Madam Clerk.
The elected member for Georgetown West to ask the Honourable Premier, Minister of Finance and Economic Development and Education, District Administration and Lands. Question number 24.
I recognize the Honourable Member for Georgetown West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask the Honourable Acting Premier, question number 24, standing in my name. Can the Honourable Acting Premier provide a timeline for the implementation of the amendments passed on the private member's motion 7/2023-2024 in September 2023, which include increasing the ex gratia financial assistance to the elderly, seafarers, and veterans, as well as raising the civil service pensioners' monthly payments to $1,500 CI dollars?
The Honourable Minister to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for the important question. I've been instructed on behalf of the Premier with an answer, Mr. Speaker, which I received this morning and submitted. Answer. The private member's motion 7/2023-2024, which was passed in the House, resolved that government considers further increasing the monthly ex gratia stipend paid to older persons and adults living with permanent disabilities who receive financial assistance, retired seafarers and veterans and their surviving spouses, and civil service pensioners to at least $1,500 per month, effective 1 January 2024. The government has considered the suggested increase in the ex gratia stipends, that is $1,250 per month to $1,500 per month, and has concluded that it is, and I believe there's a typo in this draft, it is not possible to readily agree to the suggested increase until further, and I don't believe the semicolon should be there, until further analysis is carried out to assess its affordability. The following points make it clear that the government has made reasonable efforts to assist financially challenged individuals. Point 1, long-term financial assistance and seafarers ex gratia benefit was increased in August 2023, retroactive to July 2023, which was a $300 per month increase. Point 2, approximately 130 individuals received both long-term financial assistance via the Needs Assessment Unit and the Seafarers and Veterans ex gratia benefit. Therefore, these 130 individuals have benefited from a $600 per month increase. In the majority of cases, through the increase that was provided in August 2023, recipients are often left with a residual amount of approximately $200 to $300 per month to cover unanticipated incidental expenses. Accordingly, data available to the Needs Assessment Unit reflects that most recipients of financial assistance are able to meet their basic expenses, and therefore the current financial assistance level is considered sufficient. In a minority of cases where a person's expenses exceed the present $12.50 per month assistance level, those persons are eligible to and are receiving additional forms of financial assistance such as food. Since June 2024, recipients of long-term financial assistance whose shortfall in their monthly financial needs is greater than $12.50, such persons can receive further assistance to help with the purchasing of food and also other items such as utilities. The current approved amount of financial assistance for food for one person is $400 per month. Point 5, the increase in the ex gratia pension paid to eligible civil service pensioners who completed at least 10 years pensionable service was carried out and paid from December 2023. The effect of the ex gratia payment to such eligible pensioners means that they too receive $12.50 monthly. Therefore, the government has considered private members' motion 7, 2023-2024, and has made significant progress in implementing the requests therein. The final step of increasing the stipend from $12.50 per month to $1,500 per month will be carried out when the government is absolutely certain that such an increase can be sustained indefinitely into the future.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Supplementary? No supplementaries. That concludes question time.
Mr. Speaker, if I could just make a brief comment on behalf of the Honorable Premier. She has additional outstanding parliamentary questions. My understanding, she has an agreement with the Leader of the Opposition to provide those in writing since she's unable to be here in person for any follow-ups. But this particular question I offered, and she agreed, since the substantive underlying data falls between myself and the acting deputy governor, so we could do this on the floor. But please excuse the rest of her questions as she still remains ill.
Yeah, she sent me a similar message. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Statements by honorable ministers and members of the cabinet.
Honorable members, I have received a torrent of statements for approval since yesterday. I have concluded that it is unreasonable to expect people to listen to that many statements in the course of a day. So I have approved 6 for delivery today, and assuming we don't receive any more tomorrow, we should be able to conclude the balance tomorrow. First statement is one by
I just standing on a procedural matter, if you would allow.
What is the procedural matter?
Mr. Speaker, you just informed that, and please forgive me, I'm not trying to be confrontational in no capacity, but just understanding as per the standing orders. The government does have a lot of statements it has to deliver. A number that has been submitted, and we also have the considerations of the government or the opposition. Tomorrow is their day, and we're trying to use the time as wisely as we possibly can to get as much of the government matters dealt with today to give the affordability to the private members' motions. I heard you say that you've considered the reasonable amount of time for people to consume information. I'm just trying to understand under what procedure. I know that you're the head of this Honorable House, but it is of my view, it could be wrong, that it is Government Day and that we have agreed to continue on as long as it needed to get the government matters resolved. And we were hoping to deal with more than 6 statements today. Obviously, we had to adhere to your decisions, but I was just wondering if you can identify under what section of the standing orders do you determine how many statements can be given as per the government's business?
Approval of any statements rests with the discretion of the Speaker. It is unreasonable in the extreme, I believe, to expect to deliver 14 statements at 1:45 in the afternoon. It would take, in my estimation, 2.5 hours. Therefore, I have divided them so that those that will affect Finance Committee consideration of the 2023-2024 budget year are dealt with. I was specifically asked by one minister to ensure that that occurred in that case, and I have included in 4 other ones from other ministers. I received 6 from your office this morning, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think it'd be important to clarify to this Honorable House that...
Honorable Minister, would you please sit? I received 6 from your office this morning. You will not tell me when I received them. I received them this morning. I have included 2 of them in the 6. I am not going to take this any further, and I'm not going to entertain any more from you, Minister. The first statement is from the Honorable Premier. I know the Honorable Acting Premier is capable of delivering this because it is simply one of those that deals with exceptional circumstances which occurred during the 2023 financial period. One of the usual statements that is given so that we can get through Finance Committee with this information done. So, Honorable Acting Premier, I would invite you to deliver those 2, and then we'll proceed to the next statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to clarify, you have 2 on behalf of the Premier, or?
Yes. One deals with the 2024-2026 government broad outcomes. Hand that. Hand that. Let me see which 2.
Just a moment to clarify, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these are identical duplicate copies, so it's only one.
Okay.
To start, thank you again, Mr. Speaker, to allowing this, as it is important for facilitating in completeness Finance Committee later today. Statement by the Honorable Premier on the exceptional circumstances that occurred during the 2023 financial period for the Cabinet Office portfolio. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to make this statement in accordance with Section 11.6 of the Public Management and Finance Act 2020 revision regarding a Cabinet decision under Section 11.5 of the Act to reallocate supplementary funding between the equity investments for the Cabinet Office. This reallocation of approved funding was to cover the cost related to capital projects within the Cabinet Office. Mr. Speaker, during the 2023 financial year, the Cabinet Office had limited funds to progress a number of critical capital projects. These projects largely aligned with the 2024-2026 government broad outcomes by modernizing government to improve public sector performance and to protect and promote Caymanian culture, heritage, and identity. In order to achieve these outcomes, the Cabinet Office made a request for an increase in supplementary funding for the appropriation EI 36 equity investments to the Cabinet Office in the amount of $300,000. Mr. Speaker, the majority of the reallocated capital funds were used to upgrade outdated computer systems and equipment. With the growing demand for accurate, timely, and reliable communication, the Cabinet Office replaced deteriorating, obsolete, and failing equipment in both Radio Cayman and the Department of Communications. Mr. Speaker, this supplementary funding helped to improve performance capabilities with significantly boosted productivity among staff. The modernized equipment and upgraded computer systems increase portability, increase business continuity, and increase staff resilience in the Cabinet Office teams, leading to reduced downtime, quicker execution of tasks, smoother multitasking, improved engagement, and increased efficiency in delivering the government's objectives. Mr. Speaker, the supplementary appropriation also included funding for the redevelopment enhancement of the Cayman Islands Seafarer Registry, which was originally launched in 2021. The enhanced website is set to simplify the process of submitting, amending, and maintaining the data, allowing members of the general public to submit historical data, including photos, videos, and audio recordings related to Cayman seafarers in a user-friendly format for their desktop and mobile devices, and to search through seafarer records contained within the registry and to view the status of all current submissions. The registry will help to establish relationships between seafarers based on historical data provided, for example, seafarers that sailed together on the same vessel, as well as it serves as a historical wealth of information safeguarded for future generations of Caymanians. In closing, Mr. Speaker, the above exceptional circumstances and reallocation of funds to the Cabinet Office during the 2023 financial period did not result in an increase in the government's overall budget, nor increase any risk of non-compliance with the principles of responsible financial management. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Acting Premier. I recognize the Minister for Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Supplementary funding to cover additional professional services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to make a statement for completeness in accordance with Section 11.6 of the Public Management and Finance Act 2020 revision regarding cabinet decisions taken largely prior to my appointment as Minister under Section 11.5 of the Act to allocate supplementary funding. Mr. Speaker, the supplementary funding that was previously decided upon was to support the Green Iguana I know what they are. Green Iguana culling program. and the fees associated with the Integrated Solid Waste Management System, otherwise known as the ISWIMS or REGEN project. Mr. Speaker, as well known to members, invasive alien species are a threat to the security of our islands. These are animals and plants which have been introduced to our islands either internationally or accidentally, and which pose significant threats to our native species. Green iguanas are a prime example. They reproduce faster than our native blue iguana and sister islands rock iguanas. The green iguana, the green iguana culling program began in 2018 in an effort to control this highly destructive invasive species while providing a source of income for the network of trained, licensed cullers. Over the past 6 years, this program has successfully removed more than 1.5 million green iguanas across the Cayman Islands. The total estimated expenditure for the program in 2022 and 2023 was $1,550,071. This left a shortfall of over the 2022 and 2023 budget periods of $387,500 required as an additional funding. Mr. Speaker, as part of the purpose of this statement is for me to outline the exceptional circumstances that arose and led to the need for this supplementary appropriation. Those exceptional circumstances lie in the ability of green iguanas to reproduce exponentially. Mr. Speaker, when no control measures are in place, the green iguana population can double within a single calendar year. As a result, there arose the exceptional circumstance and the associated need for the Cabinet approval of the supplementary funds to make up this shortfall and enable this incredibly successful culling program to continue uninterrupted. In relation to REGEN, Mr. Speaker, the other focus of the supplementary funding related to the said project. As members will know, in 2017, the government selected a DART-led consortium as a preferred bidder to design, build, finance, operate, and maintain the facilities. In 2021, the previous administration signed a project agreement with the DART-led consortium. However, there were still a number of substantial issues left to be negotiated. As project negotiations continued from the start of this administration up until 2023, the ministry encountered higher than budgeted costs for the professional services being rendered. The estimated total 2023 expense for the project was CI $4,440,000, leaving a shortfall of CI $2,949,000 required as additional funding. Equity injection 84 budget of CI $25,113,847 was allocated to the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency for the 2022 and 2023 fiscal year. While these funds were expected to cover a number of capital works, the ministry determined that some of these funds could be used to offset the additional professional fees that would be incurred by the culling program and the REGEN project. Additionally, the ministry determined that unused portions of the ministry's transfer payment budget could be used to offset the additional professional fees that would be incurred by the REGEN project. Accordingly, the ministry sought Cabinet's approval to transfer a portion of these appropriations, and Cabinet authorized to increase the 2023 budget appropriations via Section 11.5 as follows. A decrease in funding for EI 84, equity injection in the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency for the 2023 fiscal year appropriations by CI $164,500. A decrease in funding for TP 110 Sustainability Program Support for the 2023 fiscal year appropriations by CI $115,000. A decrease in funding for TP 111 Climate Resiliency Program, Public Sector Buildings and Efficiency for the 2023 fiscal year appropriations by CI $348,000. An increase in funding to SCR1, Policy Administration and Ministerial Advice for the 2023 fiscal year appropriation by CI $2,940,000. An increase in funding to SCR3, Environmental Services and Research for the 2023 fiscal year appropriations by CI $387,500. An increase in funding to EI 36 Cabinet Office for the 2023 fiscal year appropriation by CI $300. I think that should be $300,000. In considering these allocations, Cabinet advised the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development to include these allocations in the 2023 Supplementary Appropriation Bill for Parliament to consider. In closing, Mr. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the members for their attention and consideration of this allocation.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I recognize the Minister of Border Control, Labour and Culture to make a statement on the status of changes to the minimum wage regime.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for being so gracious and allowing me to be one of the 6 of 14. Mr. Speaker, I really want to thank the member of Georgetown East, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, for being so gracious and your response to the PQ question on Monday. As it seems to understand the financial impact by the implementation of such a policy. The matter of minimum wage is and has not been an easy topic, Mr. Speaker, to address, as it affects various sectors of our society. Therefore, it is not just a matter of accepting a report. While the intention behind the goal of uplifting the earnings of our lowest paid workers is indeed noble, it is crucial to thoroughly consider the broader implications this change may have on our economy, particularly on employers. We understand the concerns, for example, of Caymanians who employ domestic helpers and therefore stand to be significantly impacted. And we all saw what happened in 2015, the unintended consequences when domestic helpers' salaries doubled overnight, the impact that had on persons who used their services or employed them. Mr. Speaker, as detailed in the minimum wage report, some 2,400 persons are employed within the households, of which 113 were Caymanian. These household employers are predominantly Caymanian,
and we have heard their cries of concern for their ability to support themselves and their families and afford the domestic help that allows them sometimes to work 2 or 3 jobs just to keep their heads above water. Mr. Speaker, it must be noted that the majority of people we are increasing the minimum wage for are transient workers, and that 78% of the people who stand to benefit are not Caymanian. This, in fact, is not lost on Caymanian employers who are demanding that we politicians recognize this and further demand that we balance the minimum wage with their ability to pay increased labor costs. Mr. Speaker, it is therefore imperative for those following this matter to understand that a significant increase in the minimum wage poses considerable financial challenges to many employers, especially Caymanians, who employ domestic helpers and who own and manage small and micro businesses, after so many years of no adjustment to the wage level. These businesses often operate on slim profit margins, and any sudden increase in labor costs can severely affect their financial stability. Those who employ domestic help are likely already grappling with high energy costs, high inflation, and stagnant salaries themselves. Another critical concern is the potential for job losses. Employers may be forced, Mr. Speaker, to reduce their workforce to manage costs when faced with higher wage bills. An across-the-board minimum wage increase could well be counterproductive, as it could result in a lack of care for most vulnerable, the elderly, shut-ins, and children. Mr. Speaker, we only need to look no further than California. Last September, just a few months ago, Governor Gavin Newsom signed California's Assembly Bill 1287 into law, which includes a $20 per hour minimum wage for fast food workers and a fast food regulatory council, which has the authority to raise the industry's minimum wage annually. But between last fall and January, California fast food restaurants cut about 9,500 jobs, representing a 1.3% change from September 2023. Mr. Speaker, since the release of the Minimum Wage Advisory Committee's final report, the members of Cabinet have been deep in debate regarding the various approaches to making changes to the existing minimum wage regime, while giving careful consideration to the implications for Caymanians as well as general economic concerns. It is also no secret, Mr. Speaker, that we as a country have noticed that for many years, visitors to our shores often arrive and depart, having never interacted with one of our own. One of the major driving forces behind the lack of Caymanians in the hospitality sector is that despite the opportunity for high earnings through gratuities, the base pay is and has remained low for quite some time. My colleagues in the government and I debated tirelessly about the role we play and the role minimum wage plays in the strategy of increasing the number of our own familiar faces in this sector, and subsequently increasing employment opportunities for our own in this sector that such high earning potential, all alongside ensuring economic viability. Mr. Speaker, when I was given the privilege of becoming Minister for Labor and learned that a minimum wage review was underway, I was and remain concerned that one fixed minimum wage across all sectors would be problematic. Considering the sector-specific impacts of a minimum wage hike is critically essential Industries that rely heavily on low-wage labor, such as domestic services, retail, hospitality, and agriculture, would be disproportionately affected. These sectors might experience significant disruptions, leading to a ripple effect throughout the economy. Mr. Speaker, I acknowledge that adjusting the minimum wage is a tough decision, especially given high inflation, high interest rates, and the prolonged period of stagnation since the last minimum wage was set. As such, the decision becomes even more complex and challenging as my colleagues and I wrestle with cause and effects relationships. While the lack of incremental adjustments over the time can create pressing needs for a substantial hike, the sudden impact of a change can be severe. Employers have adjusted to a lower wage structure for an extended period. Many will struggle to adapt quickly, leading to unintended negative consequences such as job cuts, reduced hours, and in extreme cases, business closures. Therefore, it is crucial to consider the phased implementation of sectorized approach to wage increases and supportive measures for businesses to mitigate these adverse effects. Mr. Speaker, after taking much time to debate and consider the various options and scenarios against the information available, my colleagues and I made the decision to initiate the reactivation of a new minimum wage advisory committee with specific instructions to investigate and recommend a sectorial approach to minimum wage for the Cayman Islands, which we believe to be a better fit for our islands than the existing blanket national minimum wage. Different sectors of the economy have varying costs and structures, profitability, margins, and economic realities. By setting minimum wage according to sectors, we can ensure that wage regulations are more in line with the financial capabilities and realities of each industry, avoiding a one-size-fits-all approach that are not consistently practical across our dynamic economic landscape. Our cursory research also indicates that sector-specific minimum wages can contribute to economic stability by aligning wages more closely with sectorial productivity levels, and a targeted approach will likely help to maintain the purchasing power of workers without causing adverse economic implications. My colleagues and I are also agreed on a proposed direction as an initial stage set. Effective 1st of July 2025, employees of the hospitality and service industry, and the only sector that is currently treated differently under minimum wage, would receive an increase of $7 per hour. In addition to this increase to the base pay, it was decided that the current structure for this sector, whereby 25% of the minimum wage can be made up by gratuities, will also be removed on the 1st of July 2025. Mr. Speaker, I will also be seeking the support of my caucus and cabinet colleagues to add the construction and security services and other such industries except domestics, to those who will have the $7 per hour minimum wage come into effect next year. These sectors can benefit from having more Caymanians employed, and the increases in the minimum wage will help to make it more attractive and viable. An increase in the wage for these sectors also acknowledges the potential for increased risks to holders of positions in such sectors while executing their duties. However, as with any government proposal, we are open to additional dialogue and possible additional adjustments. For the time being, Mr. Speaker, until the new Minimum Wage Advisory Committee completes their investigations, which we intend to get underway with urgency, all other sectors will remain at the current minimum wage of $6 per hour, which we trust will not be an extensive period of time. For the avoidance of doubt, Mr. Speaker, it is expected that the new minimum wages, in particular to sectors, will be introduced in the foreseeable future. Mr. Speaker, while the goal of improving the livelihoods of our lowest paid workers is commendable, we must carefully weigh the potential adverse effects on employers and the broader economy. I assure you we are committed to adopting a balanced approach that considers the interests of both workers and businesses. What we do not wish as a result is the knockdown effect of the proverbial cart catching the horse. It cannot be overstated that striking a balance amenable to both employers and employees is critical. Before I close, Mr. Speaker, I would like to acknowledge the 2023 Minimum Wage Advisory Committee at this time and thank them for their dedication and their exceptional work. Albeit, I've already thanked them privately. They executed their duties they were prescribed to do, and they fulfilled their remit. You will all recall that since their appointment, there has been multiple changes within the government. With these changes also came an adjustment of how the government views the role of minimum wage in being a tool for empowering Caymanians, for strengthening our economy, while also improving the livelihood of those most vulnerable in our labor market. I speak for my colleagues, and in reiterating that the government is confident that our approach will prove to be strengthening to our economy, beneficial to our people, and sustainable for our country. I thank you for your time, for allowing me this time, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, I think we have sorted out the slight confusion at the start of the statement deliveries when two copies of the same statement by the Honourable Premier were handed to the Honourable Acting Premier. We have the correct one now. I would invite the Honourable Acting Premier to deliver this. This relates also to the exceptional circumstance appropriation changes resulting in the 2024 supplementary appropriations of the Ministry of District Administration and Lands.
Thank you for that, Mr. Speaker. As you noted, this relates to the other ministry under the responsibility of the Premier. As instructed by the Premier, the statement is as follows. In relation to exceptional circumstances, appropriation changes resulting in the 2024 supplementary appropriations of the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to bring to the attention of this Honorable House the exceptional circumstances, appropriation changes which have resulted in the supplementary appropriations initiated by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands for 2024. Mr. Speaker, Cabinet considered and approved the following requests for Section 11.5 appropriations in accordance with the Public Management Finance Act 2020 revision by the Ministry. Appropriation lines so as to satisfy the 2024 expenditure needs as follows. EA 60, Cayman Brack Bluff Playfield. Mr. Speaker, Cabinet approved the increase of EA 60, Cayman Brack Bluff Playfield in the Ministry by $187,896.97 via Section 11.5 of the Act to facilitate the installation of a MODU track in Cayman Brack. The the aforementioned increase in EA 60 by the said amount was a result of a decrease in EI 87 for the Ministry of District Administration and Lands equity injection by the equal same amount of $187,896.97. Mr. Speaker, Cabinet approved the increase of EA9 land purchase gazetted claims in the ministry in the amount of $671,000 via Section 11.5 of the Act to facilitate compensation claims received from landowners who are dispossessed by the National Roads Authority when constructing public roadworks. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to explain the exceptional circumstances which have resulted in the supplementary appropriation initiated by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands under Section 11.5 of the Act for the fiscal year of 2024.
Thank you, Honorable Acting Premier. I have approved for delivery today 2 statements received from the Honorable Minister of Tourism and Sports entitled the National Tourism Plan 2024-2025 and the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism. I invite the Honorable Minister to now deliver those statements.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to hand to Sergeant of Arms a copy so they can be handed out. Mr. Speaker, I'll start first with the National Tourism Plan statement. Mr. Speaker, I rise in this honorable House to provide members an update on the development of the National Tourism Plan 2024-2025. The Ministry of Tourism has oversight for one of the country's key service sectors and economic pillars. Our goal is to ensure that the tourism industry not only generates sufficient revenue for our economy, but also positively impact the lives of our residents, our workers, and visitors alike. Maintaining the strong tourism growth that has been achieved over the past decades require focus, creativity, agility to stay at the forefront of trends globally. The Ministry and the Department of Tourism, supported by a committed government, has worked tirelessly to build a tourism industry that is not only balanced but sustainable, but also directly beneficial to our people. It is therefore unfortunate that the Leader of Opposition recently saw it fit to make a public statement about the National Tourism Plan, claiming that nothing is being done in tourism as far as the strategic plan development. This assertion is simply not true, Mr. Speaker. Moreover, it is grossly misleading and appears to be an attempt to play politics by insinuating that the Ministry of Tourism is not delivering on its task. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, the former National Tourism Plan, better known as the NTP, was commissioned by the then Ministry of Tourism under the PPM-led administration to cover the period of 2019 to 2023. It was developed by the same Department of Tourism as today, following a comprehensive consultation process involving stakeholder interviews, focus discussions, and workshops to garner feedback, concerns, and ideas from a broad cross-section of stakeholders on all of the 3 Islands. When I became the Minister of Tourism in 2021, I ensured that the National Tourism Plan was updated to reflect the policies of the current government, which are outlined in the 2022 to 2024 Strategic Policy Statement, which I'll refer to as the SPS in my statement. The objectives pertaining to tourism were listed under broad outcome 10 in the SPS, entitled Improving Our Tourism Industry as a Product and an Economic Driver. And we incorporated into the National Tourism Plan those efforts. For members' ease of reference, Mr. Speaker, those objectives included things like A, expanding into emerging and secondary tourism markets, which we have accomplished through our Latin American strategy, sometimes referred to as LATAM by our hardworking staff in DOT. And B, expand Cayman Airways routes, which we have achieved with new services to Los Angeles, Panama, and Barbados. And C, create a national beautification plan, which is led by my PS, the Honorable Heather Borden, upon which we've been working so hard, which we have delivered on through the creation of a beautification task force. And D, promote and grow sports and event tourism, which we have done, Mr. Speaker, and continue to do by supporting events which showcase fashion, arts, music, sports, and many others. Mr. Speaker, both the National Tourism Plan and the Strategic Policy Statement are publicly available documents, so I don't need to go into it too much in detail here on the other objectives, and members can review them for more detailed information should they desire to do so. While it is true that my ministry's chief officer stated to the Public Accounts Committee that, and I quote, work on replacing the now expired tourism plan has been put on hold until the 2025 general election, unquote, his words were blatantly taken out of context, Mr. Speaker. And I wonder whether it was done deliberately so. I wonder because he also went on to very carefully state that the Ministry and the Department of Tourism have decided to instead to extend the former National Tourism Plan by developing a one-year plan, better known as a bridge document plan, if you like, to take the industry through to 2025. Let me say that again now, Mr. Speaker. My ministry's chief officer stated in this honorable House, and I quote, the Ministry and the Department of Tourism have decided to instead to extend the former National Tourism Plan, upon which the opposition and the former minister helped to develop, by developing a one-year plan to make the industry, to take the industry through to 2025, end quote. For the avoidance of doubt, Mr. Speaker, the new National Tourism Plan 2024 is not in any way a substandard or deficient document. Rather, it is rather robust, 80-page report, and it is the result of extensive collaboration and consultation with stakeholders across the islands. The plan outlines strategic initiatives aimed at enhancing visitor experiences, promoting environmental sustainability, and driving economic growth. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'll expand by saying, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because I respected the Honorable former Minister's hard work and just slightly amended to continue on with that hard research the DOT and the former Minister did. But now we're being accused of saying that we have done nothing by continuing with majority of what they've been doing. As further evidence that this plan was updated with the current state of the tourism in mind, It has also been updated to include this government's most recently agreed upon broad outcomes from 2024 to 2025 strategic policy statement. These include objectives such as A, safety and regulatory oversight of airdromes, meeting internationally mandated standards that support the growing tourism sector. This has been accomplished by the completion of the airport's master plan, which covers the industry for the next decade, and was the genesis for the safety and security upgrades at both the Owen Roberts International Airports and the Charles Colonel International Airport in the BRAC, as well as to the lengthening of the airport runway at Owen Roberts International. And B, Mr. Speaker, create a fund for small/micro tourism business development, which we have done through the development of our Visitor Experience Development Grant, which I'm advised will be ready to accept applications in the third quarter of this year. Mr. Speaker, this is not the time or the place to go into every aspect of the 80-page plan. But I can assure you that each aspect of the National Tourism Plan for 2024, from its innovative marketing campaigns to investments in infrastructure and workforce development, have been crafted to ensure that our tourism industry remains on the path to recovery and future success. The plan is available on the Department of Tourism's website and can be downloaded from www.ourcayman.ky if members would like to see, or the listening audience. So, for the Leader of Opposition to declare to this country that the future of our tourism industry should not be left hanging for another 18 months, implying that there is a void or a gap hole left since the expiration of the former plan, can only be constructed as an attempt to mislead the public and cause unnecessary worry and concern for the tourism industry. There is no doubt, Mr. Speaker, our tourism industry has not been left hanging. And Mr. Speaker, in my further statements to this House today and hopefully tomorrow, I'll prove to you why. All of us in the Ministry and the Department of Tourism take our responsibility to guide the development of our tourism industry very seriously. We work hard in partnership and collaboration with stakeholders to evaluate the Cayman Islands, to elevate the Cayman Islands as a premier vacation destination in the Caribbean. We are deeply committed to the business owners in the Cayman Islands, the entrepreneurs in the Cayman Islands, the employees of the Cayman Islands, and all those whose operations provide ancillary services to the tourism sector. And it is for those reasons, Mr. Speaker, that I could not and would not neglect this crucial industry until a new administration takes office. I've taken an oath and hold my constitutional responsibilities for the Ministry of Tourism very seriously. I'm fully committed to fulfilling my promise to the people of the Cayman Islands, and I'm doing everything within my power to ensure that the tourism industry continues to grow in a way that is socially, commercially, and environmentally viable. Until the next administration is in place to drive the development of a new plan that reflects their policies and how they wish to direct the tourism industry for the future, this National Tourism Plan of 2024, developed by the Cayman Islands Ministry and the Department of Tourism, which advised the last administration, also in collaboration with our tourism industry stakeholders, will be in force to guide the continued growth and the development of our tourism sector. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will take this opportunity to read my second statement, as you've given permission for me to do. and I will hand the copies of the documents over to the Sergeant of Arms for distribution. Mr. Speaker, I had the opportunity to also add a copy of the 6-month destination snapshot report, so every member of this House can have a copy as well, upon which members have the opportunity to take a look at as I'm going through the statement. Mr. Speaker, this statement is the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism update. Mr. Speaker and honorable members of Parliament, I rise to share a brief update on the achievements of the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism and to highlight the significant contributions that have been made towards advancing the growth and the development of our tourism industry. As we are now at the halfway point of 2024, in my update today, I will report on the Department of Tourism's accomplishments and initiatives between January and June of this year, which have not only bolstered our economy, but also enhanced our country's global reputation as a premier travel destination, Mr. Speaker. I will begin with an overview of the industry's financial performance, and I am pleased to report that our tourism accommodation tax, better known as TAT, collections for the first quarter of 2024 have again exceeded expectations financially. Specifically, Mr. Speaker, TAT collections from January to May of 2024 amounted to a whopping $25 million, which is a 9% above projections, Mr. Speaker. This remarkable growth underscores the robustness of our tourism sector and the effectiveness of the Ministry and the Department of Tourism's strategic initiatives. In terms of stayover visitor arrivals, I'm equally pleased to advise that the Cayman Islands are experiencing a steady uptick in visitation. To date, the country has welcomed 250,699 visitors for the period January to June of 2024, which is up 6.5% compared to the same period of last year. The United States continued to be the largest source market for stayover visitors in the Cayman Islands, contributing 84% of our total visitation, while Canada remains the second largest source of visitors for the destination at 6.9%, followed by Europe at 4.4%, Mr. Speaker. By comparison, since 2022, when cruise ships returned to the Cayman Islands in the wake of the pandemic, cruise passenger arrivals have significantly declined, registering 743,394 for the 9-month period that the port was open in 2022, and 1.1 million for the full year of last year, 2023. The lowest passenger arrivals in over 2 decades. Now, Mr. Speaker, you're probably asking why I'm talking about this negative numbers, but everything will come to light in due course. Looking at 2024 cruise passenger arrivals to date for the period of January to June 2024 amounted to 634,212 passengers, which is a 14.6% fewer, less than 2023. Cruise passenger arrivals for the month of June 2024 totaled to 54,114 persons, reflecting a decrease of 26.5% compared to the same period of 2023. I'll repeat that again, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Cruise passenger arrivals for the month of June 2024 totaled to 56,114 persons, reflecting a decrease of 26.5% compared to June of 2023. The aviation sector continues to be a crucial component of our tourism strategy, And Mr. Speaker, I'm excited to confirm that substantial progress has been made with respect to optimizing seat capacity to our destination, particularly from key markets in the United States and Canada. Comparing June 2023 to June 2024, inbound airline seats from the United States, United Kingdom, and Canada grew by 15%, rising from 63,096 seats in June of 2023 to 67,224 in June of 2024. According to the International Air Transportation Association, better known as IATA, there were 418 flights in June 2024, which is up 38 flights from June 2023. The most sizable increase in inbound seats was from the United States, which saw an 18% rise, equating to 50,817 more seats into our destination from the United States compared to the same period in 2024. Throughout the summer, American Airlines will continue its daily service from Dallas and have added a Saturday flight which will operate from the 4th of June to the 5th of August 2024. Also, as of June the 4th, 2024, Southwest Airlines launched its daily non-stop service between Orlando and Grand Cayman, which will run through August the 4th. Service will then shift to once weekly on Saturdays through till November the 3rd, when daily services will resume for the winter season. Looking ahead to the third quarter of this year and beyond, JetBlue Airlines will add a second flight from Boston on Mondays, starting on the 28th of October 2024, Mr. Speaker, continuing to add more and more flights, more and more visitors. This will provide visitors with the option to travel non-stop to Grand Cayman on Saturdays and on Mondays, which is in line with our average daily or weekly stay. I'm very pleased to confirm that Sun Country Airlines are scheduled to begin offering twice weekly flights from Minneapolis to Grand Cayman from the 20th of December 2024 to the 12th of April 2025. Also starting on the 20th of December of this year, just in time for the Christmas holidays, Delta Airlines will be offering 3 weekly flights from Minneapolis-St. Paul, among the other destinations they are already coming from to Grand Cayman. With respect to the Canadian market, capacity between Toronto and the Cayman Islands effectively doubled due to Air Canada increasing to twice weekly service between April and October, Mr. Speaker. JetBlue followed suit, doubling its service from 1 to 2 flights per week during the same period as the competition continues, making it easier for visitors from markets to access our islands over the summer period. With airline connectivity being pivotal to the success of our tourism industry, I am sure you will agree with me, Mr. Speaker, that the increase in airlift into the Cayman Islands set a positive outlook for the tourism future of the Cayman Islands. Turning our attention now to room stock, Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to report that our tourism accommodation sector has reached a significant milestone by surpassing for the first time in our history 8,000 rooms are now available to our visitors across the world. This achievement was made possible through the successful launch of the 2 new hotels, namely Vida Cayman Islands in Barkers in West Bay and Hotel Indigo Grand Cayman, located steps away from the 7 Mile Beach. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to pause for a second to say, by all means, it wasn't this administration that started it. So credit must be given for the hard work of the former minister and the former government, because these developments didn't start overnight. So much credit must be given, and I'm happy to announce those successes on behalf of the people in conjunction with the hard work of the former government. But we must continue positive things and not be criticized for it. These additions not only increase the bedroom capacity, but also enhances the diversity and quality of the types of accommodations available to our guests that come to the Cayman Islands. Aside from visitation and airlift, the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism have also engaged in several transformative initiatives aimed at further strengthening our tourism infrastructure and services. Firstly, the tourism accommodation inspections and licensing process is being modernized, Mr. Speaker. This project will allow the Department of Tourism to collect tourism taxes and hotel fees online, thereby streamlining operations and enhancing their efficiency and being the top quality jurisdiction that we're known for. The modernization process will also allow the department to digitally coordinate the inspections and licensing process for the growing pool of accommodation properties that are happening in the Cayman Islands. The Department of Tourism have also onboarded new marketing agencies to elevate the Cayman Islands' global presence and deliver a more unified and streamlined approach to our global marketing and communication strategies. A company called Gray, which is a New York-based global creative service agency, has been contracted through an open procurement process to develop a singular global brand, strategy, and creative platform for all of our source markets. This partnership will span over a 5-year period, with the new brand platform scheduled to debut in the early part of next year. And I know the team is working so hard to launch that. Additionally, for public relations services, a company called Praetel PR has been appointed as the Department of Tourism's new U.S. Public Relations Agency on record. This 5-year partnership, again secured via a robust procurement process, continues to strengthen the Cayman Islands' position as a premier destination in the Northern American market, which is our main market, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Department Destination-Wide Market Research Assessment Initiative is another cornerstone of our collective strategic efforts. Destination market research is vitally important to our tourism industry because it provides critical insights into the preferences, the behaviors, and the expectations of our visitors to the country. By meticulously analyzing key touch points within the visitor experience from arrival to departure, we are able to identify the strengths as well as the areas needing improvement and fix them. This data-driven approach also allows the Department of Tourism to tailor our marketing strategies, enhance our customer service initiatives, and develop training programs that directly address the needs and the desires of those who visit our beautiful country. The aim of identifying these key touch points and areas for improvement is to ensure a superior visitor experience, which translates into higher satisfaction and repeat customers, all of which ultimately reinforces the Cayman Islands' reputation as a world-class destination. Mr. Speaker, the tourism industry relies on partnerships and cooperations to be successful. And at this time, I would like to take this opportunity to highlight some of those recent recognitions that the destination and our partners have received. As you may be aware, Mr. Speaker, my team and I were in New York last month attending the Caribbean Tourism Organization's Caribbean Week. During this week-long celebration of all things Caribbean, the Cayman Islands had several events to promote our destination, and which showcased some great local talent, including Salida Ebanks, the musician Mr. Stuart Wilson, and the mixology by the amazing Maya Grant. I also had the pleasure of accepting an award from TripAdvisor on behalf of the Cayman Islands and its products and its people, as the Cayman Islands are ranked as the number 8 nature destination in the world's in TripAdvisor's Travel's Choice Best of the Best Awards. Now, Mr. Speaker, the average person may not know how significant that is, but amongst the hundreds of millions of people who visit TripAdvisors and to be considered as the number 8 nature destination in the world, I think Cayman and this industry has so much to be proud of. I also want to highlight one of our partners, Cayman Crystal Caves, who has been ranked the 5th best tourism attraction in the world, Mr. Speaker, in the same TripAdvisor's Travel Choice Best of the Best Things to Do. Yes, Mr. Speaker, I did say 5th best in the world, which is a fantastic achievement, and I congratulate all concerned in earning this high accolade. TripAdvisor awards are voted by travelers worldwide and are based on their direct experiences within the destination. These awards are a testament to the strength of our tourism product, and I am incredibly proud of our industry and our tourism partners and the employees within it. Mr. Speaker, in the tourism context, there's so much to celebrate. It would be remiss of me, Mr. Speaker, not to take this opportunity to highlight our human capital development as it relates to the tourism and hospitality industry. I am pleased to report that both the Tourism Scholarship and the School of Hospitality initiatives continue to thrive and inspire young Caymanians to pursue careers within the tourism and hospitality industry. Graduates from the School of Hospitality Studies have gone on to pursue careers in water sports, and 2 students will be continuing training towards certifications in PADI courses. 4 students have secured employment in reception services, and 3 others will be going abroad to pursue tertiary education in hospitality at Johnson & Wales University, Mr. Speaker. These success stories are testaments to the drive of our young people, and fills me with great hope, Mr. Speaker, for the continued development of our tourism sector and tourism product. Mr. Speaker, I'm confident that these courses will continue to get larger and larger. Finally, Mr. Speaker, in relation to the strategic initiatives, I'm very pleased to officially announce to members of the Cayman Islands that the Cayman Islands will host the Caribbean Tourism Organization State of the Industry Conference this coming September. The major business development event is expected to attract over 250 delegates from across the Caribbean, providing much needed economic stimulation and confirmed bookings during the slowest month of the year for tourism. This conference is a testament to our commitment to regional tourism collaboration and is being hosted in the Cayman Islands to mark the conclusion of my chairmanship of the Caribbean Tourism Organization, as I am prepared to pass on the baton to another member within the Caribbean. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I trust that you will agree with me that the Department of Tourism has made significant strides in enhancing our tourism infrastructure, optimizing our market presence, and driving economic growth within the Cayman Islands tourism industry. Its achievements are a testament to an unwavering commitment to excellence and underscores my ministry's strategic vision for the future and this government's strategic vision for tourism. It is my hope that as we continue to collaboratively build on the successes of our dedications to ensuring that the Cayman Islands remain a top-tier destination will be evidenced through the substantial benefits that tourism and the hospitality industries deliver to our economy on an ongoing basis. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I advise members to take a good look at this snapshot report, which gives you a good idea of where we are from a tourism perspective. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
We stop at other business. But just clear those off.
Personal explanations.
None.
Obituary and other ceremonial speeches.
None.
Raising of matters of privileges.
None.
Government business.
None. Or none further, I should say.
Other business. Private members' motions. Private members' motion number 11 of 2023-2024. Motion to increase fines and enforce road safety. To be moved by the elected member for West Bay West and seconded by the elected member for Bodden Town West.
Honourable members, I am proposing to suspend now and to resume at 2:30 to take the private member motion. The House is now suspended for a belated luncheon adjournment until 2:30.